The credibility of this year's presidential election will once again be decided by the Supreme Court as the Azimio la Umoja team puts together documents and evidence to convince the judges that the Electoral Commission was involved in a series of fraudulent acts well calculated to deny Odinga a win. The Azimio legal team is seeking a Supreme Court declaration that William Ruto was not validly declared the president-elect and will be asking the court to overturn the election in Odinga's favor. NTV's Brian Obuya now takes us inside Odinga's case against IEBC, Wafula Chebukati and William Ruto.
A Lone Ranger, Wafula Chebukati, on Monday the 15th of August walked to the dais at the Bomas of Kenya to declare the winner of the August 9th election.
In accordance with the law, the Constitution and the law, I, Wafula Chebukati, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei
It was his second attempt to announce the outcome of the presidential election after he had earlier been wrapped up by unhappy members at the venue. Chebukati was the only member of the Electoral Commission who came out for the announcement. 4 other commissioners were holding a parallel news conference at the Serena Hotel where they contested the outcome of the presidential vote, claiming opacity in the process and calling Chebukati a dictator.
We therefore decline to take ownership of the said results because the aggregation resulted in a total exceeding the percentage of 100, which cast doubt on the accuracy of the source of the figures tallied, and when we demanded that we verify our record, the chairman declined.
The statement by the 4 was the clearest indication that the Azimio la Umoja coalition party was not going to agree with the outcome. In 2 days' time, Odinga and his troops pronounced themselves on Chebukati's announcement, calling it a travesty and a circumvention of the will of the people. Odinga left the door open for a court challenge.
What we saw yesterday was a travesty and a blatant disregard of the Constitution and the laws of Kenya by Mr. Chebukati and a minority of IEBC commissioners.
Now the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition hopes to persuade the Apex Court to overturn President-elect William Ruto's win in their candidate's favor. They will be seeking to cast doubts on the final tally, the verification and results declaration, and lift the lid on the inconsistencies in the IEBC figures. The fallout within the commission will provide much-needed firepower. Odinga has cited the split in the Chebukati-led IEBC among the grounds to dispute the outcome of the presidential vote.
Sisi hatutaki kuona fujo au vurugu katika taifa letu. Tunataka kuona amani ikidumu katika taifa letu. Ndio sababu tumeamua kutumia sheria na kuenda kwenye mbele mahakama kuu ili tupeleke ushahidi ambayo tuko nazo na kuonyesha kwamba ilikuwa ni mzaha, haikuwa ni uchaguzi. Tunataka kufanya hii kutetea demokrasia ya taifa letu ambayo watu wengi walipigania. Wengine walikufa wakipigania demokrasia katika taifa letu. Tunafikiri ni jukumu letu sisi ambao tumebaki nyuma kuhakikisha kwamba hii hatua ambayo imefanyika hapa isiturudishe sisi nyuma kule tulikotoka.
Apart from protests on the opaqueness of the vote tallying and verification process as amplified by IEBC Vice Chair Juliana Cherera and Commissioners Francis Wanderi, Irene Masit and Justus Nyangaya, the Odinga-led brigade is building a case to show the Apex Court inconsistencies in the figures. The battle to challenge the figures is being fought on 2 fronts. One is the question about the actual voter turnout and reported higher presidential tallies for Mr. Ruto in certain Kenya Kwanza strongholds compared to votes garnered by candidates in other elective seats, with a special focus on Mount Kenya region.
But this is an issue that we will take it all the way. you have seen that every person in this country is struggling to add up the numbers that were given by IEBC. It is an embarrassment that IEBC can leave all of us with mathematics to do. Everybody is coming up with his own formula because they lacked clarity. And the requirement of our constitution is that our elections must be conducted in the simplest manner possible, the manner that is easily understood, and the manner that allows us to continue having known who is our leader. The fact that IEBC has thrown us into a quagmire is already an indication that something went wrong, and we hope that the courts will address this issue properly. We need them to ensure that we carry on. In any case, we expect that when the courts cause off this thing or cause some people to order, because that is what we expect as Azimio, those who may be seen like they are celebrating will also have the decorum. They will be able to raise to the occasion to ensure that the country remains as peaceful as it is today. If the outcome from the Supreme Court is contrary to what those in Uda are celebrating, can they maintain calm, just like those of us in Azimio have maintained calm? I have every reason to believe that this will be overturned by the Supreme Court.
Azimio campaign spokesperson Professor Makao Mutua, in his Twitter account, for instance, had questioned how 300,000 people in a county would vote for a governor, while only 200,000 voted for a president. The contention, in another attempt to discredit the IEBC's figures on voter turnout, lies in IEBC's contradictions. The poll agency's chair, Wafula Chebukati, had initially reported a figure of 65.4% as the voter turnout, which would translate to 14,466,779 votes against a register of 22,120,458. But Chebukati's final tally had 14,213,137 total valid votes and 113,614 rejected ballots, which totals to 14,326,751 votes, leaving a difference of 140,028 votes. Raila Odinga, who has assembled a formidable team of lawyers, hopes to convince the Supreme Court that 140,028 votes was significant enough to deny the country an outright winner. Odinga's campaign also contends that there are about 1 million votes that are unaccounted for. The Cherera team had also further questioned the number of votes and subsequent percentages announced by the Commission's chairman in favor of each presidential candidate, calling it a mathematical absurdity that defies logic. Based on the televised fallout in the Commission, the question of the process from voting, counting, tallying, relaying and transmitting election results is the major contention in the anticipated legal proceedings. In the 2017 election nullification judgment, the Supreme Court held that election is not confined to the number of votes cast in favor of each candidate and the declaration of results, but also the electoral process and the integrity of the same. Odinga's agents claim that the IEBC systems had been hacked and results doctored, the allegation leading the Azimio Party's chief agent to grab a microphone at the National Tallying Center, declaring it an active crime scene.
The reason that I said Bomas of Kenya was a crime scene is because as Kenyans were busy waiting for the outcome of this election, the members of this commission, we believe led by Wafula Chebukati himself, were busy tampering and tinkering and manipulating.
The battery of advocates will also be tabling a damning audit report by KPMG that warned of rogue IEBC officials who had unfettered access to the systems and manipulated the voter register and transferred polling stations without any oversight. In July, Chebukati announced that the commission had suspended and reported to the DPP 3 of its employees who it says they were involved in the irregular transfer of voters. But Odinga's team will be telling the Koome bench that no remedial action was taken to stop the illegal manipulation, leaving open a window that was used to suppress the Azimio presidential candidates' votes. The commission is also on the spot over the failure to publicly announce presidential election results in Form 34B from all the 291 constituency tallying centers before the final declaration. Prior to declaring the final results, Chebukati, who is the returning officer for the presidential election, had declared the results of 263 constituencies out of the 291. Results from 28 of the constituencies were not publicly announced. About the voters' register, the strategy is to lay doubt on the credibility of the role of voters based on the KPMG audit. The extensive report exposed major security loopholes, revealing that there were 14 mysterious returning officers who had been running the IEBC integrated data management system. The KPMG report unearthed weak password systems and login details of ghost electoral officials, pointing to the possibility of hackers accessing the database and proceeding to deny voters their right to cast their ballots by either deleting their details from the roll or transferring them away from their preferred polling stations. The report further showed the existence of 10 users named Embakasi South clerks. There were 4 additional but unauthorized IT users. Azimio intends to argue that there were 11 active generic accounts on the automated biometric system application and another 2 users with the same login identification. When the supreme battle begins, it will be a tense 14 days for both Ruto and Odinga. Brian Obuya, NTV.